Well, hello, we are out in the garden today. So I'm over at Mom's house and you've seen this garden many times. Recently I posted a video where I was planting some blue Arctic willow and they're down here at the edge. And this is the same bed that I've been working in for, it's been over a year now. I started doing this bed a lot 2 years ago when I first planted it with bulbs. And then last year I put in a lot of the shrubs and perennials. And this year I'm still adding more perennials, because most of these plants are only in their second year. So there's still a lot of time for them to fill in, but I'm also, as they're growing, starting to see where I'm able to fit more in, because you want a bed to be full. My whole thought process behind when I plant perennial beds or mixed beds like this is the fuller they are, the less area there are for weeds to grow. So while I do have a good mulch layer all throughout the bed around the shrubs and around the perennials, I really want to make sure it fills in when things are full growing with some beautiful foliage. So right now, we're in the middle of a nice drought here in my corner of Iowa, but we're also getting into August where a lot of the heat, humidity, dryness really comes into play and shows factors and stress signs within perennial beds. And so some of those you're gonna see here today. So things like the ornamental rhubarb that usually was huge and beautiful in the spring, it has some stress points that really could have been watered, but you know what? When it's a drought, instead of watering everything, I only water the things that are needed that were planted in the last couple of years. This doesn't need it because it's gonna be hardy and it will come back fine next year. So I focused on watering things that needed it. But what I'm working on today is really filling in some gaps. So these are all Amsonia. They bloom in the spring, but more so they have beautiful fall foliage and color. They get a beautiful golden yellow. It's just really fun. I'm gonna plant a Walker's Low Nepeta or catmint. Now, you guys know I love Nepeta, and I'll show you here, right here, on the back of the gator. I have some Nepeta that I recently picked up at my favorite local garden center here. And Nepeta, what's great about it is it's hardy in the sense that it is very drought tolerant. It's very resistant to rabbits eating it, to deer eating it. It can take a beating in our harsh summer winds, but also withstand our harsh winters. You know, a lot of times I say, even though I'm in zone 5, my winters I plant for zone 4, and catmint is one of those. We're at the time of year where a lot of people are worried to plant, and that's totally fair. It takes more care maybe now because you have to watch watering, things dry out quicker. We have harsh sun, harsh winds that dry things out. I am not afraid to plant anything all throughout the growing season as long as I watch for it. So things like catmint, I'm not worried at all. They're hardy to begin with, but also you can get great deals on these size plants this time of year. So if you're finding small perennials that are left from, early summer to spring at garden centers, sometimes they're on sale. They're still a small enough size that they're really economical. These were like 6 something a piece, which I love because next year they will explode. Perennials fill in so quickly. So don't be scared if a perennial looks kind of haggard this year because it's been in a container for a long time. Go ahead and plant it, and next year it will look amazing. So what I'm going to start by doing is laying out all these and where I want them planted. So these get about 18 to 24 inches easily tall and wide. In the right conditions, I see them definitely get bigger than that, and that's just fine. I have a big space here where they can go. So they're going to go in between all these Amsonia, all down the line. And right now it's going to look puny, but I think this is where you need to not be scared. Look at your tags. Read how big they get once they're established. That is a big difference. So these get 18 to 24 inches. That means from the center, we're about a foot on both sides. So remember that. It's from the center, a foot on both sides is gonna give you a 24-inch radius. And that's gonna let you know this gets a really big clump, and it's gonna eventually almost touch the Amsonia as that encroaches and gets bigger too. And that's what I want. I want a full border. And what I love about catmint is it has kind of this like silvery foliage sometimes, but it also blooms easily, and you can cut it halfway back mid-season so it fleshes out new blooms. So if it gets leggy, if it gets long and looks a little tired, you can give it new life. So I'm gonna go set these all out and then we'll start planting. Okay, I have them all laid out, you can see going down the line, and I didn't have to worry too much about spacing because it was set for me. I want them right in between all the Amsonia in front, and then they go right in front of either a firelight hydrangea or a Culver's root, which I love that flower. It's over with for the year, but one of my favorites. Anyway, so I have them offset all down the line, and I've started digging a couple holes. But now before I do, I always go grab my Biotone starter. You know I love to use it. So anytime I'm gonna plant something, I try to use some type of starter fertilizer, and Biotone really is the one that I find always works well for me. It just gives the plant something to begin with, and so I sprinkle it right in the hole when I'm gonna plant them. Now, I wanna show you here some great things about mulching. So we have been really dry, watering only when necessary. And you can see here, when I dig down between, like this is with about a 2 to 3 inch layer of a good hardwood mulch, all natural hardwood mulch. You can see if you look in this hole, it's pretty moist. And look how it has really held on to that moisture well. And I haven't watered back here for a while, but look how beautiful that is. Now, where I go down here, I notice I had a lot thinner layer of mulch, hardly even an inch in this spot. And look, you see a big crack in the soil before I even dug. And if you pick this up, it comes out in clods and it doesn't break up near as well. That shows that this was much drier, and that's just because of that little bit of mulch difference. So a good 2 to 3 inch layer of hardwood mulch or some type of mulch makes a huge difference in your moisture retention in the soil. So that's why I always want to stress how important that is. It's not just for weed suppression, which helps. It's not just for good looks, which it does. It also really helps hold in that moisture, which is what we want. So you can see it's a little bit drier here because it was, for some reason right here, it was kind of pushed aside and it was a little bit thinner. That's how you show. So when I go to plant these, I have a nice hole dug, and I'm always gonna start sprinkling some of this right in the bottom. I use this on trees, on shrubs, perennials like this. And usually this time of year when you're gonna find these, they're gonna be, look, very root bound. So you can see the roots are coming out the bottom. Don't let that scare you. I think a lot of people are scared with roots that you're gonna kill the plant. You're not. You're gonna pull those out anyway, because when we go to actually pull this out of the container, look how tight it is. So you can see all that tightness. Now, I will always slightly break up this root ball. That's just gonna help stimulate new roots to wanna branch out into my native soil. This is what I've always done. This is what my grandma has always done, my mom has always done. You know, and it depends on the plant, how aggressive I go, but you can see I lightly break it up, and now all those roots, instead of having that memory of wanting to be tight around themselves, they're gonna wanna branch off into this new soil. Now, when I'm planting this, you can see I'm not going any deeper than it currently was. If you get the crown of the plant, which is where all of these branches and stems come out from, if you plant that too deep, it can be prone to rotting. But if you keep that right at ground level, so it doesn't hold water right on the center of the plant, you're gonna be just fine. So I'm gonna go through now, I'm gonna put this soil, this one's nice and moist, so it's easy for me to break up and put back around here. I'm gonna put it back around. Once I get all done, we'll water them in, but I'm gonna start planting and we'll be good to go. Okay, I have them all planted. It really doesn't take that long. You know, we're taking, what, 20 minutes to plant, 15, 20 plants, because they're small quart-sized containers. But I did run into one thing that I think some of you could run into too. So I want to show you what happens when you dig up bulbs. So I had bulbs like tulips or daffodils, forgot where they were, dug some up, and I think it's always a worrisome moment of like, oh no, are these ruined? What do I do? Do I plant them? Do I not? So let's kind of go over what you can do when you hit those. So as we work our way down, you're gonna see all the different areas I've planted, but when you get here, you all at once find, uh-oh, I had some bulbs right here. So when I dug this up, I found a little cluster of bulbs. You know, I knew I had bulbs along here and I thought I was missing most of them, but obviously I wasn't missing all of them. So I came in here and I had some of these. So what I'm gonna do at this point, whenever I dig up bulbs or wanna move bulbs, I wait till they go dormant. Obviously we're in August, so these are already dormant. They're not gonna be active. Their greens are completely gone. They bloomed in the spring and now they're just sitting there. So now that they're dug up, I'm gonna just take them, put them in my shed in a dark place that's out of sunlight. And then when it comes time to plant your fall bulbs, which for me is usually October, November, I'm just gonna put these back in the ground and treat them like brand new bulbs that I plant. So anytime you dig up bulbs, do not fret. I am just gonna go ahead, plant them again this fall like I will all my other bulbs, and then they should be good as new. So you may notice on some of these, they look a little leggy, they look a little long. They've been growing in that, quart-sized container all spring and summer from the grower to the nursery to now. So if you want to, what I do a lot of times is I brought my pruners, my shears, and I just cut them down. So even though they don't look great, you can actually cut them down this far. They actually this year will still flesh out some new growth, but they also just won't quite look near as leggy. You're cutting off all that growth that looks kind of brown, a little bit stressed. You can see probably at different times maybe it wasn't watered, or it just went through a lot of shipping and packing and it just didn't look that great. So just cut them down. You can do that with a lot of perennials. Perennials that die back to the ground, they can really be cut back. It actually reduces their stress. They don't have much growth that they have to put their energy into, and it actually just works really well. So I hope you can see that don't be scared to plant all throughout the growing season, throughout the summer into fall. I plant all year long. All you have to worry about more is watching, watering, making sure you're taking care of them. But I thought to finish up, we should look at some things that I did plant this spring that have really been looking good. I did an update with a tour at one point, but I wanted to show how the caladium are doing in front of Mom's front porch. They have been so gorgeous. I posted a reel about them a couple months ago or a month ago, and they just really are showy this year, and they're one of my favorite standouts that I wasn't expecting. So when you come to the front porch, the bobo hydrangeas are just about to bloom. The all gold Japanese forest grass, Hakunkloa, is looking amazing, but then behind it, looky here. Look at those urns. They have bridal wreath spilling over the front. Then they have these too hot to trot beautiful caladium, which is what's great about these caladium. They can take sun or shade, and I've just been super impressed with them. They were bulbs I planted this spring, but look at all of that foliage. It's just seriously one of my favorites. So obviously, caladium are not growing for flowers. They're growing for this foliage, but it is super striking. And what I love about it is a standout. So as you've been hearing, we're close to a road, a lot of people passing by, but this is eye-catching. You notice this from the road and you really see that pop of red and it really just shows up. And then with this bridal wreath in front with the flowers. So this is in, part to most shade, even though this can take sun. It gets some nice afternoon sun here in a little bit, but right now it's still in the shade. And I think that's why everything is just doing super well. It stays moist. They're just happy. So I just had to show you some of the great things that were planted this year that are looking really good. There's 2 of these containers. You can see the other one peeking through there. And then they're right gonna butt up to that flower bed I've just been working on, which is really nice. As always, every year is super different with gardening, and we never know drought conditions to wet conditions, wind, storms, what will be. But that's why I try to always plant things that can take that beating out here in Iowa. So the catmint I planted today, Walker's Low, it's the very traditional catmint that has been around for years, and it will do super well. It will take the wind, it will take the dry weather, it will take if animals try to eat on it because they don't like it. So I think it will do really well, and I hope you can see that too. As always, share this video around because yeah, that helps me, but it helps everyone see that guess what? If I can garden, anybody can garden. We all have failures, but we have some triumphs too, and that's what keeps us going.